Today we're taking off from Charles Baker Airport near Millington. You can see that it's kind of difficult to get in the air when you're doing foot-launched power paragliding because you really have to run as fast as you can. Then give a little bit of flare with those toggles to get yourself in the air. Today I'm flying with two friends of mine, Marcus and Greg. Greg has got a Trike power paraglider. It's actually on wheels, so you don't have to do the running. Here I am making a mark with a Sharpie I brought with me just because I needed to adjust the length of my toggles. So I'm double checking to make sure that I got that right. The goal for today is to make it to the Mississippi River, then head south towards Memphis. Right here you can see that the river's extremely low. Just to give you an idea, the record high is 48 feet and the record low is -10 feet. What you see right here is -9, so it's near historic lows. But it gives you a good opportunity to fly down the river because normally it'd be pretty dangerous right here because there wouldn't be any place to land in case you had a motor out. But when it's like this, you've got plenty of outs in case you had an engine failure. Something that's kind of interesting that people have asked about in other videos I've made about the Mississippi River is that right there. It's called a notched channel dike. I'll put some pictures of it up from Google Earth, what it looks like from the sky. But they build those so that at low water like this, that it forces the water into the middle of the channel so that barges can go by. Those were built by the Army Corps of Engineers. And they call them notched channel dikes because they put a notch up there close to the bank, and it allows smaller fish to actually go back and forth, whereas if it was just a solid dike, that they would have to go out in the main channel where they would be eaten by larger fish. Up ahead, I saw what looked to be a refugee camp. These boys out here in tents were obviously in distress. They went so far as to carve an SOS in the sandbar there. But it's okay because I'm prepared for situations like this. I thought that I would raise their spirits some before the Coast Guard comes and rescues them off of this sandbar. I always carry a toy parachute with me because it's always exciting for kids to have somebody fly over and drop a parachute down to them. The important thing is to make sure you throw it really far wide so you don't throw it into the prop. That would not be a good day. Sometimes I mess this up horribly, but today this kid down here barely had to move and he caught it in midair. Here I am headed back south. The next thing coming up is the Mud Island Greenway. This is a fun place just to set up a hammock or have a picnic in downtown Memphis right there on the river bluff. Out in the distance in this video, you're going to see my buddy Marcus coming the other direction. He took off before me. And is headed back. There's only about 13 of us in a 150-mile radius around Memphis that actually do this kind of flying. So it's fun to get out with him. He's just a great guy. Down below, coming up in the video, you'll see a dredging operation. When the river gets this low, the Army Corps of Engineers runs this dredger to suck up silt from the bottom of the river and deposit it closer to the bank. And they do this so that they can maintain a 300-foot wide channel that is at least 9 feet deep, so that the barge traffic can come through, because the Mississippi River actually moves 100 million tons of cargo each year down the river, and 60% of the agriculture in the United States actually goes by this point right here. We are going over the I-40 bridge, known as the New Bridge in Memphis. Down to the left there, you see the Mud Island River Park that was built back in 1982 and has a concrete depiction of the river all the way from beginning to end. Back in 1959, this right here was actually an airport called the Memphis Downtown Airport, and the center line would be that concrete sidewalk right there leading up to the Memphis sign. But back in 1970, they started building the bridge that you see ahead, and that pretty much was the end of that airport. So it had to be relocated to what's called DeWitt Spain Airport, about 3 miles north. That pool right down there would be signifying the Gulf of Mexico at the end of that concrete river walk. I have good memories of playing around in that when I was a kid. Over to the right, you can see where they used to have the Memphis Belle until about 2003, when they moved it to its final home up at the Dayton Air Museum. This is kind of interesting. Right there along the bank, you can see these concrete squares. Those are called articulated concrete mats. And the Mississippi River, if it had its way, it would be very wide and shallow and would just kind of make its own way down to the Gulf of Mexico, wherever it wanted to go. But it's really important for commerce to keep the river in one place, because they build infrastructure along the river and you can't exactly have it taking different routes through people's cotton fields and whatnot. So they lay down these concrete pads to prevent bank erosion. Right here you can probably see my body language just sink, because I always wave at these tugboat drivers and they never honk at me. I'm a 45-year-old man and I still just want them to honk at me, but they never do. Might have to carry a sign or something to let them know what I want them to do. Again, no honk. Here I am checking on the stranded boys out on this sandbar. It appears that most of them are still alive, and they're still pretty stoked to have somebody fly over them. But you never know when you're being annoying and interrupting their dinner, so I always just make one loop and head back home. I think the dog's even excited. Over here to the left, you can see the sun setting off in the distance. It's a big reason why we fly. It's a view like no other from up there. According to the aviation regulations, we can fly 30 minutes after sunset as long as we have a strobe light. You can see up there to the right, buddy Greg. He's got his flashing still. Right about here, you can hear the motor cut off. Always turn it off before I come in for a landing. Land right next to my buddy Marcus. Really fun flight.